Hello, my name is David Poon, founder of the Faces of Advocacy, David Edward Dewey Poon. All right, just making sure that the sound quality is working. Now, I've been doing these lives for only a few weeks, but I realize now that there is about a 10-second delay. So anytime I'm asking a question, I won't actually see a response to the chat until about 10 seconds later. So this is me asking whether or not you can hear me. Checking 1, 2, checking to see if anyone can hear me. This is David Poon. Check, check, check. Yes, we can hear you. Fantastic. I'd like to highlight Justin Daly. He is our chief of staff and has been with us in the campaign for quite some time. He's also one of our admins, so he personally sees every single post that comes in. If you get your post denied, it's only because we want it posted elsewhere, but we do want to hear from you. We just have to focus entirely on being organized in order to succeed. So everyone, thank Justin. Great guy. He also prefers to go by Steve for some reason. So thanks, Steve. All right. So I'm going to stop the share here, making sure that we're still focused. And then I'll bring up a few documents in a moment. So full disclosure, AJ is with me now. She just arrived today. So there's been quite a few concerns that have occurred over the past day or so, and a lot of that stems from the fact that there's so much inconsistency when it has come down to these quarantine changes. So what we need to focus on now is educating other people who are struggling, advocating for the changes we need, and also reuniting our families as best as we can given all these changes. One of the large lessons that I think we have to take home from yesterday is we cannot be misled. We must not be told something wrong and be complicit in that. I realize it's very scary to do so as a foreign national coming to an institution of power such as the CBSA, but we are in the right. And if we are in the right, we have to hold our ground. So today we'll be going through procedurally what kind of steps to take in order to establish politely that we are in the right, and how we should go about that. So right off the bat, I have had conflicting information even from the top people. So that just gives you an idea of how confusing it is. Just to clarify the most important things that people are thinking of: when a fully vaccinated foreign national, immediate and extended family member arrives in Canada, they are not subject to quarantine, even when waiting for their day one test. So as soon as you clear borders, you are not under quarantine. Okay, so you don't need to book a hotel, like a normal hotel. You don't need to book a special Airbnb. You're not under quarantine as a fully vaccinated foreign national, immediate and extended family member. In addition to that, that means if you are flying into Toronto and you take your transit flight to Regina, Saskatchewan, my hometown, you can do so. So these are the important things to understand. You hold your ground on that. That is true. It's been confirmed by the Deputy Prime Minister's Office, the Ministry of Health, and IRCC. I'm still waiting on public safety to give me definitive answers on this, but we'll get there in a moment. The next thing is, unfortunately, the 15-day minimum stay is still in action for fully vaccinated foreign nationals. Now, you're going to be reading a lot of reports that people are saying, well, my partner got through and there was no problem, and they were told they could leave. I'm happy for them, but I cannot actually, in good conscience, tell you that that's okay, because we also have a number of reports over the past year of people who've left before the 15-day minimum stay is up, and they have been subsequently denied. Now, you might argue, correctly so perhaps, that, well, they were denied for other reasons, but we don't know that. So I cannot, in good conscience, tell you to leave before the 15-day minimum stay. I strongly suggest that you follow the rules. I understand this is prohibitive to other people, to a lot of families, and so we need to focus on getting rid of that. But unfortunately, right now, the 15-day minimum stay is still there for foreign nationals. If you're a Canadian who's fully vaccinated the entire pandemic, you could leave and come back and you cannot be stopped. Just you're told to quarantine the entire time you're here. So let's get to what we can do. If you're just joining us, we're going to go through what the rules are, bring some clarity in how to move forward. If you can, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the one that you're watching right now, and please get someone else to follow as well. If you're also able to help the campaign, please message Kara Harris on Facebook, Kara, last name Harris, who's been helping us consolidate a number of volunteers because we need forward momentum for a program I'm calling the Peer Advocates. Peer Advocates are, in order to stop the spread of clear misinformation that's going on, we need people knowledgeable and know how to help others. There are some of us who don't know how to use computers very well. There's some of us who are not English as a first language people. All of these things come together, and we need to help those that we can. So please message Kara Harris about our Peer Advocates program to volunteer for the campaign. And if you're able to, please get yourself to sign up and subscribe to the YouTube channel, as well as someone else, because this is going to be our best way of communicating and show strength to the government when we need to enact change. So yesterday, in preparation for the complete utter nonsense that we're probably all going to be facing soon, I drafted something that is optional for a number of you to print out as you come into the border. So I need to do some amendments to it, but we'll upload it to our website soon. This is going to be a letter from me that you can give to the border officer if you are in a lot of trouble. I cannot guarantee that this will help. Heck, I can't even guarantee that I won't harm you. But if you need something in writing, this is it. So this is a Face of Advocacy clarifying statement on quarantine exemptions for fully immunized foreign, national, immediate, and extended family of Canadians. Okay, long word, but specific. You have to be fully immunized. You have to be a foreign, national, immediate, and extended family of Canadians. And then this is in regards to the quarantine exemptions. Okay, so it's not about who's allowed into the border. It's not about how long you have to stay in Canada. It's very specifically the quarantine exemptions. Okay, so identify who I am. If it matters, I'm a medical physician, but I don't think that matters. The founder of the Face of Advocacy, and this is the number of people that we have. And then I explain that the extended family and compassion exemptions were a direct result of all of our work. And I'm so proud of all of you. Again, you guys did fantastic. So if the border officer asks you, or, do you know there's a pandemic? And then they say, only essential travel. We say our exemptions were considered an approved reason for travel. Simple as that. You can say family is essential. You can say that it's approved. You can say it's sufficient. But we definitively proved, and we got the paperwork to show that family reunification is an approved reason to travel. Okay, so that's question number one. Okay, so in terms of the misleading facts that some CBSA officers and some MPs have been given you, a foreign national who is fully immunized and an immediate or extended family member of a Canadian is exempt from the quarantine. Simple as that. If people are going to mislead you, you can show them this letter. But I contacted the constituency co-manager for the Deputy Prime Minister, the Director of Operations for Health Canada, and the Director of Policy to the Minister to IRCC. Okay, so these are very top people, and they've all told me the same thing. In fact, I've quoted verbatim an email that I got, and it says that if you meet the definition of extended family or immediate family, and you've received both doses of COVID vaccine recognized by Canada, then they're no longer required to quarantine or stay at designated quarantine hotel. I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, J&J, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is only one shot. Okay, this is verbatim what I was given. I know Johnson & Johnson's only one shot. You can probably show them that one shot J&J is sufficient. Okay, but the point is, this is definitive proof. Okay, my email's at the end of it all if the border agent wants to contact them. And then you can also actually have them look at their own directives because it's there. Okay, some of you might believe that these are misinformed. I would love to give the CBSA the benefit of the doubt, but I'm also cognizant of the fact that you could be misled. And I refuse to let a single one of you get further misled. I am so angry to those who've been misled yesterday, arguably lied to, and that's why this letter is here. So I explain. I've advised all of our members to fill out the online travel wizard. So here's the link. You click on that, you say, I'm a foreign national, this is my relationship to Canadian, blah, 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 blah. And then it says, can you enter or not? Okay, take a screenshot of that because it shows that you can enter. Okay. And then I linked to the phase 1 backgrounder. Fully vaccinated people are not required to quarantine. Okay, right there. It says right there. You don't have to do the day 8 test. I'm going to add to this section by talking about how it also applies to the fact that you don't need to wait for your test results to come back before you get on your transfer flight within Canada if you're doing that. So I'll just bolster that a little bit. If you're in big trouble, if the CBS agent says you're a liar, I'm not going to look up anything, and I don't like your face, or some variant of that, I'm linking right here that it says specifically that you can ask for a supervisor on the CBSA website. My own partner, when she was rejected last year, was told by the CBSA officer that she couldn't talk to a supervisor. And back then, I mean, she and I, we didn't know anything. This is well before the Faces of Advocacy began. And I don't want any of you guys to go through that. So it says here very clearly in writing that you can ask for a supervisor. And I know it's scary. I know it's terrifying to be in a position of no power to an institution of power, but you have every right to ask for a supervisor. In the event that you're found inadmissible to Canada, and you've shown them this letter, I write specifically, if your member is found inadmissible, please document this clarifying letter in your GCMS system. So that's what the border agent uses to record. Okay, I'm asking them in this letter, record that you read this letter. Because what we're going to do is we're going to ATIP you. ATIP is the access to information and privacy request. That is, you see what they wrote down. So if they lied to you flat out, you'll have it in writing. And that's as close to accountability we can get right now. Some of you might feel that's too aggressive. I just wanted you to know that's an option, because I cannot fathom, and I honestly cannot bear seeing another one of you treated poorly at the border. And then I've left my email at the bottom here. Okay, so that's the basic letter. We'll post on the website soon enough. Let me just go through a few other things before we go into the question and answer. Share screen. So some of you might be wondering why I I ask for YouTube subscribers, and why I'm going to talk to you about, if you have money and you'd like to donate, please go to buymeacoffee.com/faces of advocacy. And you might be wondering, why do we need the money? Why do we need subscribers? So the Faces of Advocacy were directly responsible for the extended family and compassion exemptions last year. That's something incredible, because all of us worked together. We wrote our government and we convinced them to do something that not the US has done, airlines weren't able to pull off, and a lot of other countries haven't even approached. And that's our family exemptions and compassion exemptions. We did so by being organized. To have organization, you need to have good communication. To have good communication right now, I found that posts aren't working nearly as well as live videos. So if you're able to, share these live videos with other people and get another person to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you don't have any, if you can donate, we're happy to have that, because it does help. This is our Buy Me to Coffee, buymeacoffee.com/face of advocacy, and it just helps run the campaign. If you cannot donate, it's okay. We will still advocate for you and press forward for you. In terms of what's going to be happening to create changes. So if you go to facebook.com/faces of advocacy, this is a publicly accessible site, and most people trust Facebook. Sorry, not most people trust Facebook to keep your data, but people trust clicking a Facebook link for the most part. So it's publicly accessible. And what we have here is what we call our Reunification Thursdays initiative. And these are clear instructions on what to do. So there are some things that we're going to have to focus on. There were some assumptions that were made last Thursday by myself that I thought would have been addressed by now, and they weren't. So in terms of what we need to focus on, clearly the 15-day minimum stay is ridiculous. Now, I have some hope that that will change. The reason is this. When the hotel quarantine was first enacted earlier this year, I approached the Deputy Prime Minister's office, and they explained to me that not only is this something that they want to do from a COVID perspective, which I debated if it was actually scientifically useful, but in addition to the COVID piece, they wanted it as a deterrent to travel. Okay, so they knew that this was that the hotels were cost prohibitive, and that the COVID element was not the only consideration to it. Now, I completely disagree with that, but the reason I bring that up is when I bring up the 15-day minimum stay now, it appears to me like it was an oversight. It should not have been an oversight. I'm very upset at that. But this wasn't as far as I can tell, it wasn't an intentional piece meant to make traveling harder for families. It might have just been an oversight. Now, we've been talking about it. I've been bringing it up. And then what happened was some members of parliament had told us that it would go away. And then I stopped pushing that. So if that was a tactical error, I apologize. But I have been bringing it up regularly in our meetings. And so I'm very surprised that it is still here. So we have to push on that. Another thing we have to push on is that children who are less than 12 cannot get vaccinated. So what you have are scenarios where toddlers have to quarantine when fully vaccinated parents don't have to. And so the analogy I give, which is somewhat facetious but true, is that if the Habs win, a toddler isn't partying on the street spreading COVID. So that's the second thing we need to focus on. The third thing we need to focus on are temporary residents. Temporary residents are your friends who are maybe are international students, or they're here on a work permit, and they've contributed to the economy. They pay Canadian taxes. A lot of them work during COVID. These people have not benefited from any of the exemptions the Faces of Advocacy have succeeded in over the past year. This makes me very, very sad. And so now is the right time for us to strike, because as families, we know how hard it is to be apart. These are families who are suffering and they've contributed to the economy. And it's also a reasonable jump for the government to do. If they aren't going a full border opening, they can start opening to other people. And I think that should extend to people who have been contributing to Canada. So those are temporary residents. And then the fourth thing is, and I genuinely cannot believe that there hasn't been any exemption for us yet on this. There has to be a better family reunification plan for those who are partially vaccinated and those who are unable to get vaccinated. So these are a number of groups that we need to focus on in order to succeed. My strong recommendation is that when you make a phone call, you mentioned these 4 points. The peer advocates program that we're going to run we'll train you on how to explain this to other people, on how to help other people who need it, and then go into other border groups and go within our own group to help explain the challenges and what we need to do to solve family reunification for a lot of people. When we're organized, we can succeed. We are not I feel we are not going to win a full border opening before we can win things for families. So we need to focus on 4 things that we can win. This will involve picking up the phone or emailing your member of parliament in order to help push this forward. If you're asking yourself, well, I'm not a Canadian, what can I do? Well, the Canadian can send it in. You can also email, and you can also call on behalf of the Canadian. Calling is actually, I think, superior at this point, because all the MPs are on summer session, so they aren't necessarily going to be checking their emails as much. My goal is to hit the Face of Advocacy YouTube channel by 2,000 people by the end of August. So we're 500 people away. If you can recommend another person, if you can press subscribe, please do so. You might be wondering, Dave, why aren't you subscribed? I'm not subscribed to the own channel because this is incognito mode. I am subscribed to my own channel. All right. So this is where we are. If you'd like to join as a peer advocate, please message Kara Harris in the Facebook group, who can put you in the right place. If you have any ability to help the campaign, please let us know, because we are going to get bigger, we are going to get louder, and we're going to get only more effective. We have done incredible things over the past year. I'm so proud of you all. And I really think we can do a lot of good for families, and in the future for a lot of people who are suffering. So that's it for the formalized session here. Let's go through the questions. Um, there's a knowledgeable immigration lawyer in the chat. I did not know that. Thank you all very much for congratulating AJ for arriving. The language regarding the 15-day minimum stay is very nebulous on all forms. Yes, it's confusing. With the three groups that I have confirmed with, so that's the Deputy Prime Minister's Office, Health, and Immigration, they've all said the 15 minimum day stay is still here. So I understand. Yesterday there was a fantastic post. It was like this big theory. These are the screenshots, and I highlight this. And it's like, well, if you look at all this and interpret it this way, well, therefore the 15 minimum day stay doesn't apply. But the fact is, you're going up against a border officer, and if you don't have strong footing, they can not only, if you're right, tell you that you're wrong, but if you are even slightly wrong, they might rightfully tell you that you are super wrong. So I do not recommend any motion to challenge that 15-day minimum stay when you're at the border. Definitively, I have been told, and I can confirm, that the 15-day minimum stay still applies to fully immunized foreign national, immediate and extended family. I'm sorry. This is why we need to focus on changing that. Sarah says, can you give a summary of the conversations you've had regarding the 15 days? What did you say? What did they say? Any plans to remove it? So I've been waiting for clarity to come up on what was going to happen on July the 5th. So that means it left it until the weekend. During the lead up to it, I have given emails. Is the 15-day minimum stay going to be here? Is the 15-day minimum stay going to be here? And I have not gotten a lot of responses. If I do get a response, it's we'll wait till we're still figuring this out. As much as I would have loved to think the government is a monolithic, efficient group that knows things well ahead of time, this is run by people who take time to figure out what they are, and there's a lot of interdepartmental communication issues. So I genuinely think they did not know. As of July the 5th, when the first reports were coming in that people were being misled, that they were not eligible for the new quarantine rules, I immediately went out to to the Deputy Prime Minister's office, IRCC, Health, and I said, please get me to public safety, because there are a number of questions we need to know. The 15-day minimum stay, whether or not quarantine changes are affecting us, people under transit, will that change? Whether or not we're under quarantine until the first test is back. So these were by emails. Okay, I did get a phone call back from the Deputy Prime Minister's office, and I said, public safety is not responding to me. I'm really upset at this. And they said, okay, we will get public safety to talk to you. And I said, the 15-day minimum stay, how does that make any sense? Because I feel it's a relic of the previous 2-week quarantine minimum from last year. And then the Deputy Prime Minister's office says, that does, like, they nodded in agreement, and they said, okay, we're going to go find out. So this is why it's important to compare it to the hotel quarantine. The hotel quarantine, the Deputy Prime Minister's office made it very clear that it was a deterrent to travel. In this case, they acknowledged that it seemed to not be an intentional thing. Okay, so that's the Deputy Prime Minister's office. They are not in charge of it. As much as I wish they knew all the answers, they did not. But they did eventually get public safety to get back to me. When I spoke to IRCC, my first priority yesterday was to make sure that the quarantine changes did apply to foreign national, immediate, and extended family members who are fully vaccinated. And after that back and forth, they found out that it did apply. It did apply to us. Okay, so that's what my day was yesterday. Now, don't forget, guys, I have a day job, so this is a lot of time spent on this, but it was very, very important. I then further asked IRCC, what about the 15-day? Does it apply? And they said, yes, it still applies. And I said, who is in charge of this? And the answer is Health and Public Safety. So I spoke to health. Health says that, and they later admitted they were wrong today, but this goes to show how challenging the communication has come. Yesterday I said, do foreign nationals still get do fully vaccinated foreign national immediate and extended family get under the new quarantine rules? And they said yes, they do. And I said, okay, well, what about transfers to other planes? Because that's the next question. Um, uh, and they say, oh, they got a quarantine until the next plane. And that's when I got really scared, because a number of you will be affected by flying into Toronto and need to make their connection. So that's when I was like, what? How does this make any sense? They later today said, no, they were wrong. Doesn't apply to you. Following that, I talked about the 15-day rule. They said it's still the 15-day rule. And then I said, how does that make any sense? And then the response is, there are many different, it was an answer like, there are many different issues: the policy, the communication, and the implementation of things, the operationalization of things. So it wasn't a sufficient answer in regards to that, but these are the high level ministry people, but these are not the decision makers. So we need to actually get to Minister Haidu for an answer on this. Their role is to make things work when Minister Haidu says to make it work. So they could not give me an answer on why that was the case, but they said they'll look into it. And I said, this is our next highest priority, because the 15-day minimum stay is prohibitive. So yesterday, there was a member who said that they were told the wrong thing at the border, and I was livid. I hated the fact that we had someone with no power speaking to an institution with great power and misleading them. It made me so angry. So I don't know if you saw, but yesterday was the closest thing I've done to a Twitter tirade or something like this. I was so angry. Whether or not it was through health, immigration, and deputy prime minister office, but or was it the Twitter meltdown? I don't know. But public safety did get back to me. They told me yesterday, which is in writing, that fully vaccinated foreign national, immediate, and extended family members of Canadian are exempt from quarantine. Okay, now remember, yesterday that was the highest priority thing to figure out. Following that, and they haven't responded yet, I asked about the 15-day minimum stay. So I'm still waiting for that. So to answer your question, that is how I brought the 15-day minimum stay. The 15-day minimum stay has been emailed to them in the past weeks. I've been trying to get a hold of public safety since June the 7th. I told them that. They didn't respond to any of that, but yesterday at least they acknowledged the foreign national, fully vaccinated, immediate, and extended family members. The 15-day minimum stay was something that I have been emailing them about for at least a month. No response yet. Now that we're on day 2 of this and we are solidly exempt from quarantine, now we can pivot to the 4 things, and one of them is most definitely the 15-day minimum stay. It is nonsensical to keep that minimum stay now that quarantine is out. My suspicion is, and this is a good thing for us, is that it is not an intentional deterrent. It's some sort of issue between the policy, the communication, and the operationalization of it. I want it gone. 100% I want it gone. And I'm sorry that it's still here. All right. So Kate writes that someone wrote in the IMM006E that they're going to stay for less than 15 days. I don't know. Has anyone actually been accepted on the less than 15 days? I don't know. Now in the website, there looks like there is actually a possibility that if you did get approved with the IMM006E for less than 15 days stay, it would actually work. I'm just not convinced that anyone has actually been approved. So please let me know if you do. In terms of should you reapply, the IMM006E required the notarization, so you'll have to re-get that new form, I think. And if you need to reapply, I think you have to wait for the rejection before you reapply. But you could try emailing them and amending it. That might work. What if we were denied entry last year? Whitney says, will there be an automatic denial again, even though that person is exempt? So Whitney, I don't know your story at all. This is maybe the first time we've talked, and I'm really sorry. That's exactly what happened to AJ last year. And since then, she's come into Canada twice, once with me as we came back from Ireland, and once today. And we were terrified. So to answer your question, if you're denied, you are not necessarily denied the next time. You do have to go into secondary. Now, right now, every single extended family member, from my understanding, is going into secondary through the air border. I have no idea if that's the case in the land border, but through the air border, you are. If you have read the Family Reunification Border Transition Plan, and I hope you guys are, it's our latest policy briefing from June. On there, it says specifically that if there is a record of this, it should be exonerated. It should be gotten rid of because it was so confusing last year. People did not realize they weren't eligible to come in. It should be gotten rid of. So I followed up with IRCC about that. So the Faces of Advocacy, I think, differentiates itself from is particularly good at advocating because it cares about the nuance and particularities of language and who we approach. The 15-day minimum stay is an issue by public safety and health. Who is allowed into Canada is an IRCC matter, and we have to maintain very particular language as we move forward in order to succeed. And so when it comes to clearing your record of having been denied, that would be an IRCC matter. But the rules for quarantine exemptions are a health and public safety matter. The reason why I'm bringing that up now is if you join our peer advocates program, you'll have to learn how to explain these things to other people. And I hope you do join because we need a lot of well-informed people to help others who are misinformed and help a lot of families come together. If there's misinformation out there, it makes us all look bad. I can't, I have no other way of saying it. Oh, Whitney, I remember you. So Whitney actually, what happened to her was the exact same thing that happened to AJ. Last year, when the rules are changing, we had thought that we were established for common law, AJ and I. Same with Whitney, and Whitney had a horrendous time. And I'm glad to see you here. I'm sorry for what happened. For anyone who's like Whitney or AJ or any of us who've been denied, my partner came in today, and that means there is a pathway forward. I'm really sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry to any of you that happened to you. Join us at the Face of Advocacy Facebook group, and let's discuss it on our daily threads and figure out paths forward. Secondary, Katie says, what's secondary? Secondary is the second room. This is why having peer advocates are very important, because a lot of people, Americans will have never known what secondary is because they've never needed to deal with immigration. I'm sure most of us who have Asian, European, African, Australian family members have all had that great fear of secondary, because that's the room they pull you into if you're in trouble. From my understanding, all of us, including Americans who are coming in on the IMM 006E, they're being pulled into secondary from the air border. From land, I'm not entirely sure. All right, that's it. So today, please email Kara Harris if you'd like to join our Peer Advocates program. If you can, please donate to faceofadvocacy.com buymeacoffee.com/faces of advocacy. Please subscribe to our YouTube. And right now, if you can, find another person who's suffering or hurt, or in the comment section of a news article about the border, or in another border group, and share with them this video, share with them the Faces of Advocacy. I don't know if you guys can read between the lines of what I'm saying, but there's a lot of misinformation out there, and it's not only coming from the CBSA. It's coming from a lot of people who are hurting. But if they continue to perpetuate misleading information, it'll hurt all of us. So we need well-informed people in order to get what we need and succeed. Yesterday, I kind of slipped the tongue, but I kind of like it now. And it was kind of, if you can donate, if you can't, educate, and no matter what, advocate. And here's where we are. Peer advocates. Wednesday night, we will figure out exactly the curriculum that we want to spread along. On Thursday, we're going to hit strong with Reunification Thursday. We're going to be focusing on the 15-day minimum stay, children under 12, quarantine, temporary residence, and a path for partially vaccinated and those who cannot get vaccinated. Thank you very much for your time. Oh, here's Sydney, who is, I haven't given her a proper title, our director of writing stuff in chats to remind people what to do. And we'll give her a better title soon. Anyway, thanks, Sydney. Thank you, TB Audio, for donating. And the team has just been wonderful for pulling it all together. We need more people helping out. We need to get bigger. We need to be stronger. And thank you for being here. Fantastic job, everyone. We've done incredible things and we'll continue to do incredible things.